CKJ Crypto News, Crypto Pioneers, Ripple Pioneers. I'd like to welcome everybody to the show. Here we have a picture of Ben Lawsky. Ben Lawsky actually has joined the board of directors at Ripple. We've actually dug down the rabbit hole of Ben Lawsky, and me personally here on CKJ Crypto News, one of the favorite things I like to do is show the foundation of Ripple and how Ripple was built and some of the key players who are actually, I believe, are going to have everything to do with mass adoption of XRP. And this is what Ben Lawsky is promising. He's promising that helping institutional investors mass adoption of XRP. So basically, he was once known as, Lawsky is no stranger to controversy. Basically, he was once known as the sheriff of Wall Street and the toughest cop on Wall Street. But Lawsky had a change of heart, takes his badge off, and joins Ripple Labs as board of director. Back in 2013, he also subpoenaed 22 Bitcoin companies, and I believe that's where actually a lot of the animosity towards some of these exchanges and Ripple began. Because once he was really harsh on a lot of these Bitcoin companies. A lot of Bitcoin companies were forced to pack up and leave the state of New York once they couldn't receive the bit license. Ben Lawsky right here is actually responsible for granting Ripple their bit license. And a lot of Bitcoin companies complain that with the hoops you have to jump through, they had to pack up and leave New York. Now, I found this old picture of him right here where they're calling him Johnny Lawsky. Like I said, they call him the sheriff of Wall Street. We do got a couple clips, a couple videos on how basically he was really harsh on Bitcoin and Bitcoin companies, and then he had to change of heart, and then now he's supporting Ripple, but he's supporting Ripple, I believe. I believe that Ripple and Ben Lawsky's had a tie-in maybe since early 2012. Some of the information I bring is old, but like I said, it shows the tie-ins, the relationship. It shows the foundation that Ripple has built. Ripple will be #1 in my belief. This is from the Village Voice, and that's Johnny Lawsky. It says, Johnny Lawsky, meet the state's top banking regulator. Now, he's a banking regulator, and he has joined Ripple. So if anybody knows anything about regulation and getting XRP through, he would not leave his very lucrative position, powerful position, to join Ripple if he didn't know what he was doing. Meet the state's top banking regulator, Benjamin Lawsky, the man who picked a fight with Wall Street. And that's him right there. And guess what? That's our inside guy at Ripple now, and he does not play. So let's get this show started, Crypto Pioneers. Don't forget, you can follow me on Twitter, CKJ at CKJ Crypto News. Shout out to the Ripple community. You guys are amazing. I do tweet a lot of old articles sometimes. It's just showing the foundation of Ripple. So anyway, this is how it all began. New York State, and I did kind of touch on a video on this yesterday, but this is kind of like part 2. We're going to go a little bit deeper, a little bit different direction. I did cover this a little bit last night on the live stream, but I'm going to try to summarize what I did on the live stream in a quick video for people that don't have a lot of time. So anyway, New York State financial regulator issues subpoenas to 22 Bitcoin companies. The New York Department of Finance, DFS, has issued subpoenas to a number of Bitcoin companies requesting information and the way in which the companies operate. I'm going to try to jump around really quick and make this video short. Now, this is the list of all the Bitcoin companies he subpoenaed. BitInstant, BitPay, who's this? Coinbase, CoinLab, CoinSetter, and we go down here, Anderson Horowitz, Google Ventures, Winklevoss Capital Management, and that's Gemini Exchange. So far we got Gemini Exchange and Coinbase, and if you recall, there was some issues with some not confirmed sources saying that Ripple tried to pay $1 million to get listed on Gemini Exchange, which I think I know how that rumor got started now. I'll leave that decision up to you guys. So if we move forward, right here, the toughest cop on Wall Street you never heard of. How Ben Lawsky's making big banks pay. In early April, when New York reported that the Justice Department would grant Suzy a deferred prosecution agreement for actively aiding tax evasion, it seemed yet another bank would pay a paltry penalty for a major misconduct. Credit Suzy would owe only a fine for helping rich Americans hide their wealth from taxes and Switzerland, and those wealthy clients would get off scot-free with their Swiss bank accounts still secret. But the funny thing happened on Credit Susie's way to legal impunity. New inquiry from the relatively obscure New York Department of Finance, that's who Ben Lawsky is the leader of, under the direction of former federal prosecutor Ben Lawsky, DFS has reportedly requested documents from Credit Susie and the Senate Subcommittee investigation, seeking to learn whether Credit Susie executives based in New York lied to state regulators about their role in creating offshore tax havens. In the current climate of financial regulation, where investigations rarely impact the individual employees or who design to perpetrate misleads, this was a bold step, one that could force the Justice Department to toughen up, imposing less stringent penalties than state regulators would humiliate the feds. So basically, a few years ago, Lawsky's agency didn't exist. Now it's a player in virtually every major bank scandal, investigating money laundering, market manipulation, accounting, and fraud. The faulty mortgage service, to name just a few. So this is actually really huge. When corporation does wrong, it has to be the individuals who work at the corporation have done wrong, Lawsky said in the interview. The corporation itself doesn't sit around and say, should we be cooperation engaging in this misconduct? Lawsky's efficiency has been surprising, given that his office originated not as a high-minded alternative to Wall Street's failed regulations, but rather as a power play by New York Governor Andrew Cuomo. Cuomo, the former state attorney general, famously doesn't get along with his successor, Eric Schutterman. One of Cuomo's first acts of governor was to combine the state banking and insurance departments, both dating back to the 19th century, into a new agency with expanded powers, many which overlap the Schuttermans. While the DFS and Schutterman's office have worked together on occasions, many believe Cuomo was creating a parallel cop on the beat to undermine his rival. And this is where Ben Lawsky comes into play. Cuomo chose Lawsky, who worked for him at the Attorney General's office and before that pursued white-collar crime at the U.S. Attorney in Manhattan office. From the start, Lawsky took a prosecutor's mentality, immediately scaling up the criminal division and building an agency of 1,400 employees. In a recent speech, Lawsky discussed the accountability gap on Wall Street. So, I mean, it makes it pretty much clear right there. For example, in 2012, Lawsky broke with federal colleagues on an investigation into Standard Chartered, which was accused of laundering money for countries banned from the financial system, such as Iran. Lawsky threatened Standard Chartered with New York banking license, without which it wouldn't be able to work in one of the world's financial centers. So he's like basically throwing his weight around. Standard Chartered, which previously wanted to fight the allegations, backed down and settled it for $350 million. Ben Lawsky made the bank back down and pay a $350 million fine. He's a very, very serious guy. Here goes another one. Lawsky blocked Owen's purchase of a $39 billion in mortgage service rights from Wells and Fargo. This is far tougher than the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, which settled with Owen last year. Lawsky's penalty hit directly Owen's business model. Since Ocwen does not originate its loans, it must purchase servicing rights in order to thrive. So this is huge. But then if you move on right here, like I said, I showed you this right here. New York's top financial regulator. He's a banking regulator, issues 22 subpoenas to banking, to Bitcoin companies. Now this is him right here talking. We'll just watch this for a brief second.
So we get the regulator side of the story here.
Joining us now is New York Department of Financial Services Superintendent Benjamin Lawsky, who issued the memo and the subpoenas. And thanks so much for being with us. What is your specific beef with Bitcoin? Because you basically regulate activity in New York State. What are you finding that could potentially be questionable in New York?
Well, there's no particular beef. I think we're finding that this is a fledgling enterprise, but it's becoming more and more popular. Already billions of dollars involved. And we want to make sure that as this enterprise grows, and if it does become a place where a lot of people are engaging in financial transactions, that we have sufficient protections in place, because when you do these transactions in the virtual world and online, you really have the ability to do it with a real cloak of anonymity. And when you have $1 million, multi-million dollar, even billion-dollar transactions or money flow anonymous at the same time, we've seen this movie before, and there are real dangers that you could have narco-terrorists, you could have other people doing money laundering, and we want to make sure we have these safeguards in place to prevent that.
One of the criticisms of your subpoenas was that they were pretty broad. I mean, maybe it was just a fishing trip you were going on. Have you seen specific evidence, or do you sense that there's illegal activity going on using Bitcoin?
We know it from the Liberty Reserve case, a major indictment that came down recently, $6 billion in these transactions, clearly funding narco-terrorism, and something we're deeply concerned about. So I think we've seen enough to make us take our look at this to the next level.
So basically right there, we got Ben Lawsky, who's actually being very critical on Bitcoin, basically exposing that they have uncovered $6 billion in money laundering, terrorism, and fraud. He's pretty much taking a very serious stance on Bitcoin. Now, when you see the video that I'm going to show a little bit later where he's turned in his badge, he acts like a different guy. It's amazing. And this is like general... This is how it starts off. If you notice, people start off really critical of Bitcoin, and they basically not interested in it, think it's no good, and then all of a sudden they change their hat, and once they do a little bit of research on the technology, they're like, hold on, this technology is amazing. But what I believe, and this is just from my perspective, I believe at this point right now that Ben Lawsky has already partnered with Ripple. So, and that's my perspective, my point of view. It's up for you guys to decide. Like I said, when he actually subpoenaed these 22 Bitcoin companies in 2013, XRP was already created as of 2012. So why wasn't XRP subpoenaed to this list? I believe that because there's already a relationship between Ben Lawsky and Ripple, and I believe that's where a lot of animosity may be coming in between Coinbase and Gemini. And I still believe that Ripple is bigger than Coinbase and Gemini, and I believe there's something much bigger in store. And it's awful, even more ironic that Brad Garlinghouse says, we have been working with regulators since day one. I think that one line right there is like, that one line basically is Brad Garlinghouse saying, listen guys, this is the one line, you should feel safe and secure. We have been working with regulators since day one, and now we know that Ben Lawsky is the top regulator. BitLicense architect Ben Lawsky joins Ripple board. Ben Lawsky, former New York superintendent of financial services, who spearheaded the BitLicense regulatory framework while in office, has joined startup Ripple Labs board of directors. According to the press release from Tuesday, Lawsky will help Ripple advance its payment platform as well as its in-house digital asset XRP. Now, if Ben Lawsky says he's going to move XRP, he's going to get XRP adopted, you can bank on that. That's for sure. Right here, Ben Lawsky joins Ripple board, and look at the laser focus in this guy's eyes. Like, he's serious. He's about business. Well-connected man. Been in the industry for 20 years. Former prosecutor. Former top bank regulator. Ben has over 20 years experience in law and financial services regulation, both at the federal and state levels, including being a former superintendent of financial services for the state of New York, chief staff, and Governor Andrew Cuomo, and co-chair of Governor Cuomo's Cybersecurity Advisory Board. He also created the BitLicense, an industry-leading regulation for digital asset business operating in New York State. And this is my favorite line right here. Lawsky will be instrumental in helping increase institutional adoption for XRP. So this is where he changes his hat. Benjamin Lawsky, Sheriff of Wall Street, is taking off his badge. I mean, come on. Just imagine with me that Chris Larson and Ben Lawsky already had a partnership since 2010, 2012. I believe that. That's my speculation alone. It's up. You know, everybody's going to feel different. Ben Lawsky has gained a reputation as a burr in the side of the financial industry and even some regulators. It has been a grim few years for banks and that Benjamin Lawsky regulates. He threatens to pull their licenses, fine them hundreds of millions of dollars, and force dozens of their employees to resign. Now, much of Wall Street's delight, the New York State regulator will be leaving government to start his own legal and consulting firm. And this is a really good video. We'll just watch a couple minutes of this. Just watch how he's a different guy now. It's amazing. He's even smiling now. And guess what? That's what I always say. Once you found out about Ripple and XRP, it's a hell of a community. You're always smiling.
So Auckland rallied when you decided to step down. I'm sure many bank CEOs are happy to see you go. Why now?
You know, the time was right. I've been in government service for about 20 years. put it this way, at a certain point, I have a 7-year-old daughter who said to me, "Daddy, isn't it time to give someone else a turn at being superintendent?" And that actually kind of rung true for me. I mean, I've loved the job. I've done it for 4 years, and we've built a great team, and I think whoever sits in the corner office, the work of DFS is going to continue, and it's going to continue to be a powerful, important agency.
Well, I mean, before we get into your next move, your tenure has been marked by, we mentioned the fines. Some critics would say, though, that you leapfrogged some of the federal agencies, like the SEC and the Federal Reserve. I'm thinking back to the Standard Chartered case, that you threatened to revoke banking license for some of the foreign banks in the United States. What do you say to those critics? And why was it so important for you to do this job? But you were the first in the position.
Yeah, so I think back in 2012, August of 12, when we had the Standard Chartered case, we did make some aggressive moves there. I think the feeling was the way the system was moving and had developed in terms of regulation, that in order to change things for the better when it came to anti-money laundering, especially for terrorist financing and things like that, we needed to sort of turn the table over for a little while and get things working a little differently. Since that time, I can say we've cooperated quite well with all the other agencies, and I think it's important.
So right there, you pretty get the gist of the idea that, like, he's smiling now, he's talking about his daughter and giving somebody else a chance. He's actually completely flipped the script, which is a good thing. That's why it's amazing to have him on Team Ripple. Right here, such cases thrust him in the public spotlight, a position he embraced with supporters and detractors alike. Presenting outsized portraits in 2013, the Village Voice splashed on its cover illustration of Mr. Lawsky, whom it called Johnny Lawsky, donning a cowboy hat and a sheriff's badge in contrast after Mr. Lawsky released plans to regulate virtual currencies. An online image surfaced of him seated atop of a Game of Thrones lucrative power and the caption of "Hail King Lawsky." So I wish I would have Googled that one. Lawsky has spent his entire 2 decades in legal career in government and plans to open his own firm. And we know he works at Ripple. So I just really wanted to do a little deep dive, part 2 from the other day. Let me know what you guys think about this video. Please like the video, share the video, smash that subscribe. The CKJ coin will pop up. I will live stream tonight around 9 o'clock. Let me guys know what you think about Lawsky joining Ripple. If you have any questions or comments, I respond to all questions and comments. Team Ripple, we got a hell of a team. Everybody hold strong hands. We are getting close. We are almost to that tipping point. Ripple has gained such momentum. They have built one hell of a team. Like I always say, they're backed by former Federal Reserve Board members. They're backed by Glenn Hutchins, who sits on the Federal Reserve Board. Ben Bernanke, former Federal Reserve Board member. Karen Glifford, who used to work at Federal Reserve, works at Ripple. Greg Kidd used to work at Federal Reserve. He was backing Ripple. Now he's in his own little venture. But I mean, the team for Ripple is ridiculous. Here on CKJ Crypto News, we say the proof is in the partnerships. And I do believe that. Alrighty, you Ripple Pioneers. Thank you so much for your time tonight. I really appreciate it. Have a wonderful day.